Hello everyone, Time to Grind here, and today I wanted to talk about Nintendo being awarded $12 million from pirate ROM site operators. And if you don't know, the story's been going on for quite a while. I made a video about it a while back when we first heard the news. But long story short, two owners, a husband and a wife of two different ROM sites, LoveROMs.com and LoveRetro.co, have agreed to a $12 million judgment in favor of Nintendo. And what does that mean? It means that these two people, they had two different sites that were infringing on Nintendo's IP because they were giving out ROMs. And, you know, what is that? Well, if you want to say emulate an old game, you want to play an old Pokemon game, say Pokemon Red. Well, you download your emulator, and emulator is a little more protected than ROMs. And then if you need the ROM, you go and type in on Google Pokemon Red ROM, and there will be 80 different searches that all have the same ROM, and you go download it. And that is technically illegal if you don't own Pokemon Red. Because if you own the actual game, you're free to pirate it in whatever way you want, as long as you actually own the game. Obviously, most people that emulate do not own the games that they are emulating, so it is becoming illegal. But these ROM sites are not really allowed. It's especially a huge gray area, but at any point, Nintendo or any other company could go strike down on these, and that is what Nintendo is doing. And a lot of people are angry at that, and for a couple decent reasons, I would say. Now, the question of do they have the right to do this is yes, that is obvious. People, the two sites, they were infringing on Nintendo's IP, and Nintendo did not want that, and they sued them. So they're in the right to do that. It's not like they pulled some shady business tactics or anything like that to win the lawsuit. It was a clear-cut case. I mean, they even say it wasn't really that much of a fight. The owners both kind of just agreed and went along with the whole thing, and I think Nintendo's kind of just trying to make a show out of them. The reason being of the huge $12 million in damages, kind of how big that is. Because obviously they're not going to pay it, and in past a lot of companies do stuff like this where they'll make a separate deal with the people. So they'll say we're going for 12 million damages, but then they actually only say, okay, you only need to give us $500,000 and we'll call it even, you know, as long as you agree to everything and stuff like that. So that's most likely what we're seeing here. They just want to scare the crap out of all the other ROM sites. Obviously there will still always be ROM sites open, because if you shut one down, 4 more pop up in its place. It's just how the internet works. But the reason people are so angry is because of the fact that Nintendo has not really ever offered a convenient and affordable way to play these old games. I mean, at all. And so say you want to play Pokemon Red. You want to do it legally. Well, what are your options? Well, the only option is to buy an old Game Boy and buy an old copy of the game, and that can cost a lot of money, especially for the Pokemon games and a lot of other really popular games like Super Smash Bros. Melee. Those games can cost a lot of money, let alone the systems. And on top of that, Nintendo's not making any money even if you do that legally. Nintendo makes no money if you buy a game used. So you go to GameStop and you find a random old Game Boy game, or you buy one off eBay, you buy an old Pokemon game off eBay, Nintendo isn't making a dime off of that, just like they're not making a dime off of the emulators. So it's not like they're actively losing money at all. And people are mad because if Nintendo offered, say, an emulating service where you could pay $5-10 a month and play all these old, you know, GameCube games, N64 games, all this huge library of games, and then they were shutting down these ROM sites and suing them, that would make a little more sense, because it's like, well, we're offering our product and you're offering our product for free. We can't have that, so we're going to sue you. But they aren't offering any product at all. They're just kind of saying, nope, we're not, even though we're not offering a legal way to do this, we're still going to, you know, screw all of these people and sue them and stuff like that. And it's one of those things where they're technically not wrong, they are in the right, and it's like, you're not wrong, you're just an asshole, because they really aren't wrong for wanting to protect their IP, they're just kind of being jerks because they're doing it, but they're not offering any legal convenient way to get their games. I mean, every now and then they're like, oh, say with the Nintendo Switch Online, you get access to 3 NES games a month emulated, and it's like, well, yeah, a couple of the NES games are good, you have the original Mario Bros and stuff like that, but that's not what people want. They want the SNES even, they want GameCube, they want the old Game Boy games, they want those old Pokemon games, and Nintendo has never offered an emulator for that, official or at all. I mean, even like remastering games, they normally have this huge, like, okay, we're gonna do Ultimate Omega Ruby and stuff like that, and maybe that's why they're trying to protect. They're like, well, if people pirate Sapphire, then they're not gonna want to buy the new Sapphire remake they're making. And either way, it just sucks, and it's not right. And I think one comment that I saw when people were talking about this on Reddit that really portrays it perfectly is by David Spade AMA, and he said, "If you don't want me to pirate Path of Radiance instead of shelling out 130 Canadian for a used copy you won't profit off of, then re-release it. And I don't want the same NES games I bought on Wii 10 years ago as a novelty and bought again in 2016. I want to play the Nintendo games that have held up." And that kind of goes on both points I made. First of all, if you're buying a used copy, Nintendo is not making any of the money. And on top of that, most people do not want these old NES games. I don't know why Nintendo has such a hard-on for their NES games. Nobody wants most of them. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. There's a couple people that like all of them. There's really good gems in there. Like I said, the original Mario Bros. Games, the original Legend of Zelda. Most NES games are not that good. People are wanting these old Pokemon games. But to be devil's advocate here for a second, a lot of people are like, well, why did they choose the Love ROMs and Love Retro sites as their target? Why did they go after them rather than any of the other 80 lawsuits? Why did we not see them go on a lawsuit spree and just start suing all of these people? And the reason is because the LoveRoms.com and LoveRetro.co, the owners were allegedly making money from letting users play the games in their internet browser. And that isn't being mentioned in a lot of these sites, which is a little annoying because they're not really given the whole picture. But these sites were actively charging money for people for premium access to then play the games in the browser. And that's a really big no-no. If you know fan games, if you know modding, if you know any of this stuff, normally most companies will be okay with it until you start charging money. If you start charging money for your fan game, someone makes a fan-made Fallout game and they're charging for it, that's a huge no-no. Sometimes you can get away with, say you have a Patreon or you have people donating and it's not really that well publicized. Sometimes you can get away with it, but charging for someone else's content is a massive no-no. And that is one of the reasons why I'm a little more okay with Nintendo suing these particular people, because of the fact that, they were doing something like that. It's not the whole argument of, well, we need to have games, for preservation. We need to preserve these old games, especially that a lot of them, it's really, if not impossible to play them. We need to preserve these in emulators. And that's a really fair argument, and I agree with that argument, but it doesn't really hold up for this particular case because of the fact that they were clearly doing more than just preserving the games. They were trying to make a profit, and I don't know how much money they actually made, but because of the $12 million in damages, I know they're not going to pay all $12 million, but I guarantee you they have made probably a lot, because they were some of the more popular ROM sites, and if they were charging money for something like that, I could see them making a lot of money. But overall, there's not a lot more to add to this story. It's just kind of like Nintendo sues this company. A lot of people are angry because Nintendo isn't offering an actual legal way and convenient way to play these old games, and people are mad. But they're in the right to do it. It's just they really shouldn't be, and if they are doing it, they need to be offering a alternative. They need to have their own emulator services, or they need to release the games for $5, $10 a pop on, say, the eShop or something like that on the Switch. They need to do something rather than just cutting the heads off of all of these ROM site operators. But if you guys have any opinions on this topic, definitely let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear them all. And if you enjoyed this video, then consider leaving a like down below and subscribing to see more content. New videos come out every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And like always, guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day.